Some of you have heard me speak proudly about my dad from time to time. I tend to wax poetic because the impact he had on my life was huge. The man who captured my mother's heart, snatched us up as his own treasure. Technically, he's my stepfather, a term I take issue with, so I arrange it differently in my head. He is the man who stepped in and did what the donor didn't. Even though I do not share my father's DNA, my organized mind knows that DNA does not equal family all the time, and he was family. My mother knows this. My stepfather knew this. My sperm donor, however, never learned this, and as of today, has not expressed the desire to do so, but then again, how would I know? I haven't talked to that asshole for nearly a decade. When I was 9, I noticed a pattern with the sperm donor. He would take us to visit his mother, the woman he chose to name me after, but we never actually entered the house that spring. We were sequestered to the yard to play. In the yard, there was a table adorned with fried bologna sandwiches and tragic unsweetened iced tea. And in the yard with us was this kid who we had no idea who he was or what he was about. He was just there. We had a designated bathroom, not in the house, but in the basement. On the third visit to the yard, I had to go potty, but there was no toilet paper. So I ventured into the house, found an extra roll of toilet paper, but since I was in the bathroom, I decided to go because it didn't make sense to leave a bathroom to go to a bathroom. I heard sounds that startled me, so I locked the door and I lingered. Once it got quiet again, I unlocked the door, roll of toilet paper in hand, and there is a naked donor and a naked woman I do not know, but because of her feature, I figure she belongs to this kid that we do not know. I stare as he shoves her back into my grandmother's bedroom. He demands I go back outside to play. This is one of the 2 only vivid childhood memories I have of my biological father. When we leave, the donor attempts a speech, some lame excuse and explanation of who the woman and who her son is, and suggests I don't tell my mother. But I can't see what I saw. And don't tell your mother sets off alarms in my head, so of course, I tell my mother. She confronts him. This is the only other vivid childhood memory I have of my biological father. He balls up his fists, punches her in the face. My sister screams. He then laces his hands around my mother's throat and in front of us tries to put her head through a wall covered in glass. This is the first time he has laid hands on her in front of us. And maybe that's the thing that snatches her brain. She sees us seeing this scene and realizes this lesson is being potentially transferred. I could see it in her eyes. This will be the day she leaves him. Immediately, I start moving. I push my younger sibs out of harm's way, yell at my brother, call the police. I find the biggest knife I can find, launch my spider monkey self across his back, press a knife to his throat, shout, "Do not hit her." Again, I am 9. The biggest knife was my mission. What I held was a bread knife. I am sure he knew I could not cause real damage with it, but he could see my eyes in the fractured mirror of the wall he was trying to force my mother's head through. Maybe he felt my intent, or maybe it was the way he looked me in the eyes that shook him. He released her, and we all wanted to leave that tainted space. I never lifted the pressure of the knife held to his throat. He never tried to shake me off. The police came. Me still holding a knife to my sperm donor's throat. They didn't shoot me like they might have if it happened today because I am here. But they did take him away. We gathered around my mother, got ice for her bruises, cleaned up the glass, and had a family meetings. My sibs and I learned a few new phrases that night. We learned domestic violence. We learned restraining order. We learned divorce. The donor never stepped foot in that house again. And the next year, my mother would meet a man who loved us without lies or fists, and we learned new words like domestic bliss in Atlanta. When we left St. Louis, my mother was forced to face the man that refused to pay child support and took issue with her moving so far away, taking his children with her. He forgot he couldn't bully her anymore, so he tried casting spells. The last words he said to my mother in front of us was, "Everything you touch will fail." In my head, that was us. This man who claimed to be a messenger of God, who took his children to his affairs, who insisted through court proceedings that all of us are forced to spend the summer with him, yet refused to pay child support and provide health insurance, proclaimed his children's failures because they were constantly in the loving arms of their mother, a place he was no longer welcomed. And in Atlanta, my mother would soon teach me a lesson that encompasses every single definition of the word resolve. I don't suffer fools. This is a phrase my mother says often. The first time I heard it was when she was when one of her sisters was trying to get her to take legal actions to garnish the donor's wages. She refused the advice with the comment, "They will get what they need one way or the other. Eventually, they will get every dime," she assured her disbelieving sister. I, personally, hated spending summers in the concrete heat hell that was St. Louis, Missouri in June and July. What I loved about the forced visit was my mother's approach to the issue of child support. I didn't get it or love it right away. It took me years to ask the questions of why we were forced to go. She answered, "Because I don't suffer fools." Okay. But why we gotta go with no luggage, hair a hot mess, no toothbrush, raggedy clothes, worn out shoes, sack lunches, and nothing to do for the long-ass bus ride? She simply smiled again, saying, "It's because I don't suffer fools, Theresa." Sensing my irritation, knowing my temper, she said, all right, sit down. I'm gonna tell you the real deal. It was the 70s, y'all. That's how they talked. The real deal. "So," she started, "your biological father has refused to pay child support for years because of his arrogance and pride, and because he is arrogant and prideful, I know he plans to parade you at church on Sunday to fulfill and ensure all the other deacons that he owns his role of doting father. This is why I always make sure you arrive on Friday afternoon looking a hot mess, as you call it. This gives his arrogant ass time to shop for 4 children for the whole summer. You spend 5 weeks with him. Will he allow his children to show up in church for 5 weeks wearing the same 5 dresses, slacks, and shirts? No, he will not. His pride can't allow it. If he does, who's going to tell him what a great father he is with his sharply dressed kids if they're wearing the same outfit more than once? We let his boys wear their glasses all paper clipped together? No, he will not. Eye exams and new prescriptions and new glasses just like that. We allow unkempt hair, God forbid. So there's a salon hairdo in store for you and your sister, and fresh haircuts for your brothers. You have to look good, smell good. It's the only way he can be a good father. These are all the things he will have to do between Friday afternoon and Saturday evening, including feeding you, because I always make sure you arrive hungry. She pinches my cheek. When he has to provide for the 4 of you for 5 weeks, that is 3 times as much as the child support he refuses to pay. See, you can always part a fool from his money, especially if the fool thinks he is being generous when he is actually paying off his selfish debts. And there's a bonus, though, because he also has to buy luggage and the tickets to send you back home, even as he tries to justify keeping clothes you won't be able to wear next summer. He doesn't want you to see him as selfish, especially you, Theresa, wielder of knives. He believes he is giving the gift he owes you. I know my ways, I know you may think my tactics might be strange, but it galls me that he wants to take credit for all your shine without putting in any work. It is my belief that at the very least, he should invest in all of you. If he's gonna try to claim your brilliance, this sweet girl is the only way I know how to hold him accountable. If it embarrasses you to ride the bus like that, I apologize. Just know You don't know those people, and they don't know you. She points at my heart. Besides, you will probably never see their asses again. I am proud she trusts me with her master plan. I say, I think you might be a genius. Right back at you, she retorts. A kiss on my pinched cheek as she rises to start dinner. And I think of the four of us now. Younger brother, musician, responsible for the sounds on your video games. Younger sister, educator, specializing in special needs. Other not-so-younger brother, former commissioner of juvenile justice for the state of Kentucky, youth advocate, poet, and me, still on point to hold a knife to the throat of anyone who threatens my mom's safety or those I love, and well, you know, I do other shit. Not a failure in the pile. But after she explained the why, I kind of got into the hot mess outfit night ride bus thing. In fact, that summer, I squinted a lot. Got myself a prescription for a new pair of glasses, and they were dynamite! Y'all, it was the 70s. That's just how we talked. Thank you.